What if you could cultivate unbreakable resilience and discover profound joy, even in the midst of life's toughest challenges? Join us as we welcome Amberly Lago, best-selling author of Joy Through the Journey. Shift your mindset, embrace the present moment, and cultivate resilience through life's ups and downs. Amberly shares transformative insights from her acclaimed book, guiding us to tap into our inner strength and fully embrace the present moment. Learn practical tools and inspiring strategies for living a truly unstoppable life. Welcome to the Wellness Driven Life Show, where you're about to go on a wellness driven ride. Let me share with you a little bit more about the incredible guests that we have with us today. Amberly Lago is a leading resilience expert and the best-selling author of Joy Through the Journey. A former professional dancer and Nike-sponsored fitness trainer, her life was transformed by a horrific motorcycle accident. She founded the Unstoppable Life Mastermind and hosts the Amberly Lago Show, recognized as a top 1% podcast. An in-demand international speaker featured in Forbes and USA Today, Amberly empowers individuals and companies to build grit, overcome obstacles, and sustain peak performance. I am so pleased to help welcome to our stage today, Amberly Lago. Welcome.
April, thank you so much for that amazing introduction. Can I just go around and hang out with you all the time?
Yes, you can. And I must say, I haven't yet had the honor and pleasure of listening to you speak or being at one of your transformative events. But I must say that I would advocate for just the way you show up, who you are. It's absolutely vibrant. It's wonderful. And so I would absolutely start there. But let's get started by sharing a little bit more about yourself so our audience can get to know you more.
Well, thank you so much. You know, it's funny when I hear an introduction, sometimes I'm like, oh, she's talking about me, because
Yep.
I forget sometimes. And I think it's important to kind of look back at how far you've come, because it doesn't seem like that long ago that I felt completely defeated. I had lost my career. I had $2.9 million worth of medical expenses. We had a lien on our house. I mean, I felt like I had pretty much lost it all. And not only that, I went from being this fitness model and owned a fitness company and did fitness videos and sponsored by Nike. And now I was laying in this hospital bed staring down at my leg that is held together by metal rods and completely scarred up. So I appreciate the introduction just because it made me think about like how far I've come. And if I can do it, I'm just like anybody else out there, you can do it too. And so that's why I'm so passionate about sharing tips and tools on how to not just live, not just survive, but really thrive through life's challenges. Because, you know, I had this horrific motorcycle accident 15 years ago, and I still live with constant chronic pain from a nerve disease I was diagnosed with as a result of this accident. It's called complex regional pain syndrome. And so that's one of the reasons you and I have been trying to connect and do this and just talk for a long time. And I just had another surgery that I had a really tough recovery from. So it's not that I went through something and it's done and now life is all good. I think that it's something that is a practice to strengthen your resilience, to build your grit, and most definitely to spark more joy. And there are things that I do every single day. And there are things that you can start with today, right now, And, I just finished right before this. I still have my workout clothes on because I just finished training a client of mine that I've had for like 25 years. And she is actually going through chemo. She was diagnosed with cancer and she's still working out. She's worked out. She lives in California and I moved to Texas. So now I work out with her over Zoom. And I had a coach at one time said, "What are you doing still training clients?" I'm like, "Because it brings me joy to get to be with her and to get to guide her and see her get stronger." And she started today and she was like, "Yeah, I'm just feeling really down." And I'm like, "You know what, then let's take some deep breaths and let's just get to moving." I said, "The hard part is just getting in the car and driving to the gym or just turning on the Zoom and starting. But once you start to move, movement moves your mood."
Yeah.
And there were days when I couldn't move other than taking deep breaths and moving my arms a little bit in the bed. But whatever you can do to start where you are and use what you have and do what you can.
Mm. That's so beautiful. And it makes so much sense to me that you continue to train others because it brings you joy, bringing us back to what is it that does bring us joy? And if that is what it is, then do it. And you're right, just getting started in that movement, but then, movement creates that emotion and all of those things. And I want to go back to your story too, because it is such an incredible aspect of resilience. And most people who are doing incredible things, they have those experiences in life because they were resilient, got through it, and wanted to share that experience with the world and say, if I can do it, you can too. And thus, your past, you had all of this, you had like what many would call a perfect life, right? You had this beautiful physique. You were, kind of in this fame mentality. You were living it up, right? And then all of that is quite literally shattered.
Mhm.
And I like to call that an identity crisis as well, because when we think that we are this person and we know who we are, based on just our beliefs or societal standards, and we think that we've made it to the top and we've done everything, and then, oh, no longer do we have this piece of ourselves who we thought we were. And we start the journey of questioning, who is it that I am? If I'm not this, what am I? Who am I? What am I here to do? And so
Mhm.
I like that you've brought in this joy aspect, because it's finding what that is. And you have to go deep to do it, don't you? So
Oh,
would
yeah.
you mind sharing with us some pieces of that, of what it was like for you when you started to discover what actually brought you joy, even when you didn't think that you could have joy because you're in excruciating pain, you can't move, you cannot do anything that you used to do. What was that like?
Well, April, you said it so well because it was I lost my identity. And because I based my identity on what I did and what I could provide.
Right.
So I was the main breadwinner of the family and I had built this business. And so I didn't think about like, who was I really, but it was what I did and how much money I made, that I could keep a roof over our head, that I could provide and put my daughter in private school and all the things. And I had worked my butt off to get to that point. I had worked so hard. I mean, I moved from Texas to California when I was 18. I'd saved up $1,200 and didn't have help. Like, I had good parents, but not parents that would come out to California with me and help me find an apartment. Nope. I worked 4 jobs the first 2 weeks that I moved here. And so I felt like, yeah, I had finally gotten to a level of, wow, built this career. I've got the husband and the kids and I've got my health. Like life is good. And it all shattered. And those moments of climbing out of the darkness started really small, but it was something that I realized, and it's something that you can start to do today. And it's simple. And I know a lot of people hear of gratitude, but I really truly believe gratitude is alchemy. I could feel the way it was changing the way that I felt. And it started with, my mom growing up in Texas. It's the Bible Belt, and manners are important, and thank you notes are really important. So anytime we got any birthday gift or anybody came over or anything, we always wrote a thank you gift. And so when I was in the hospital, I had clients bringing me food and flowers, and friends coming to visit me and bringing me blankets, and I was writing thank you notes. And I realized as I was writing these notes how it started to make me feel, and they were notes of gratitude. So it was not just the notes of gratitude that I could really feel make that shift in my perspective, but it was the connection and the community that came around. And I started, instead of staring down at my leg and thinking about, because I was spiraling down thinking, what if I can never walk again? What if my husband doesn't love me? Look at all these scars. Will I ever be able to wear shorts again? Am I going to be scarred up? Am I going to die tomorrow? Like, it was getting dark. And I started writing down instead. I thought, wait a minute, I've got a choice here. I can go down that road of despair, or I can focus on what I do have and what I can do. And gratitude is what allows you to do that. And I wrote down on this list every single thing. And sometimes it was just that I had breath that day. Some days it was like, well, I can't go outside, but I've got a window and I can see the blue sky from my window, and I know I'll be outside again someday. And so that really started to shift things for me. And then now, everyday little things, when I was in the middle of writing Joy Through the Journey, I started to write it, and life got pretty good again. And I built a completely new business. I've got a lot of clients. I'm doing a lot of events. This is my second book. And I was like, but I can't write this book about joy if I don't feel like I have as much joy in my life as I used to. And I had to really put a pause on things and get back to basics. And one thing that I do every single day is HALT, which stands for never get too hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. And little things like getting back to basics. I was spiraling down in the beginning of my book. I talk about a very embarrassing moment where I had an infection, went to the ER. They wanted to admit me in the hospital, and I was like, nope, just give me some antibiotics. I'll be good. And I kept pushing and pushing and pushing. And I had 3 keynotes in one day and was about to do a live, and my brain would not work anymore. I was not functioning. And it was like my body was saying, oh, really? Are you not going to stop? Then we are going to make you stop, because you're not even going to be able to speak right. And so it was a learning experience for me to get back to basics, to get back to, after dealing with so much pain from this motorcycle accident and 34 surgeries, well, now it's 35 surgeries to save my leg and for the CRPS. I could not get out of pain when I was trying every kind of treatment, and I started drinking and became an alcoholic. And so I got sober in 2016. And when life started getting really good, I started missing some of my sobriety, my recovery meetings. I stopped, I started skipping a workout. I stopped going outside. Pretty soon I was like, well, I can schedule one more client in. And before I knew it, I was doing 12, 14-hour days on Zoom. And I had to get back to the basics of doing things that brought me joy. And so I think it's important to look at what energizes you, what does spark the joy that already is inside you, but what lights it up even more. So I do things, even like today, I've been back to back on Zoom, but in between, I went outside with Nugget, my little pup, who's the cutest thing you've ever seen. And I go barefoot and I stand in the yard, and that gets me grounded. And I hug her and kiss her and let her run around the yard a little bit. I feel the sunshine on my face. And so it energizes me. Then I schedule in my workout client. So I actually move around a little bit with her. So I move my body. I make sure I'm taking care of my gut health. I make sure I start my day with prayer. I have a gratitude accountability group. We call ourselves the God Squad. And we do that gratitude. And I was just telling my client how it makes such a difference when you have that accountability. And I said, and darn it, I have a coaching group, and I challenged them yesterday because they're wanting to really increase their influence and their impact. I said, okay, challenging you 30 days, every single day, we're going to show up and go live on social media. And then I was like, oh crap, that means I got to do it too.
Yeah.
But you know what? I gave my word and I'm going to be accountable. But I think it's really important to, think about what energizes you. And so much, I'll just say one more thing. If you can't tell, I'm very passionate about this. I really, truly believe so much of it matters about connection and who are you allowing in your space, in your inner circle. And it's creating a life that you don't want to escape from. Self-care is bubble baths are nice, massages are nice, but I really truly believe that self-care is creating a life you don't want to escape from. And so take a moment. Like, this is the first time I have ever taken a pause in 6 years for my podcast, but I needed to take a pause to reassess, to take care of my health mentally, spiritually, physically, so I can come back even stronger. And sometimes we need to slow down instead of going fast. And I love going fast. But if we're going fast on the straightaways and we don't slow down around the curves, we're going to crash. And so I think it's so important to ask yourself what energizes you, what fuels your joy, and who are the people in your life that you can feel that good energy, those good vibes.
Amberly, I have gotten numerous chills throughout your this conversation. And so much is resonating with me, and I suspect with many of our listeners as well. You are so raw in bringing all of those experiences of life, really being detailed about what that is like. And as you're writing a book and you want to be this leader and this example to others, you have to, make sure that that's something that you're living right now, right? Am I experiencing joy, or am I being grateful like I have been in the past? And so we're going to move into our first commercial as I wipe away this little tear that I started to get. And when we come back, let's pick this back up because I want to unravel a little bit further. Stay tuned. Are you ready to take control of your ride to wellness? Rev up with Driven Living. Visit www.drivenliving.com and buckle up for a journey. Get exclusive access to our Wellness Driven Life Show guest portal, where you can dive deep into the minds of our esteemed guests. Sign up for our newsletter and get insider scoops on these distinguished personalities. It's like having a backstage pass to their life-changing wisdom. But that's not all. You'll also receive a free hug. You heard me right, a free hug. An enlightening ebook from the Driven Living team. Discover the science-backed benefits of hugging yourself. It's a fill-up for your wellness tank. Because at Driven Living, we believe in fueling your journey to wellness, both physically and psychologically. So what are you waiting for? Visit www.drivenliving.com today. Welcome back, everyone. Here with the stunning, incredible Amberly Lago. Now, your story and life is such a beautiful, passionate journey. And I'm so pleased that you are helping lead and guide others, because the way that you describe this is something that many of us can relate to. We've all been in places in life where we question how we're responding, and we know that we're not responding the way that we need to, want to, in order to be living a little more fulfilled, right? And so when we want to lead others too, because to me, that brings a lot of joy. I get excited when I get to share things with others that I've learned that along the way. And then there's other parts where I'm like, oh, am I actually being authentic in this? Because I don't feel like that right now. So what is it that I need to tweak and I need to change? And I loved how you brought in that past aspect of how you were brought up, writing the thank yous that really established that being grateful for things in life. and having that understanding, and you already knew about that. And so um, I know that you do some of the things today, like earthing. I love that you did that grounding experience, getting outside. That's definitely one of the things that I know. Can you share a little bit more about that acronym that you created? Because I think that's so important, not getting enough rest. And what are some of the things that notice within yourself if you're missing one of those? Or is it a practice that you ask yourself every single day because of that acronym you created?
Well, you know what? I have quite a few acronyms that I've created just because it helps me remember. Because I sit in my office and I'm like, oh, squirrel. Oh, I'm doing this. Oh, doing that, And so if I have an acronym, it really helps me remember. So um, the halt is easy for me. I never get too hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. I'm just not a nice person to be around if I'm any of those things. And also, when you're any of those things, it's easier to pick up or go to a bad habit, not make the right decisions or the best decisions. And I just can't share from a place, and could not write a book from a place where it wasn't something I was doing. I'm no expert, I'm no guru. I just share like some pretty raw and real stories about how I found or discovered how to anchor yourself in that joy. And in fact, last night, my husband and I had our 18th wedding anniversary, and we were talking, and he was talking about my book, and he actually read the book. I was surprised. And he's like, "Man, you say some pretty vulnerable stuff." I'm like, "Well, yeah, I didn't know you were going to read it." No, I don't know why it's harder to have someone else, like somebody that you're closest to, read your own book. But I think that to spark joy, it takes, like, I have an acronym for SPARK, and it's shifting your perspective. And we've talked about that. The quickest and easiest way to do that is with gratitude. I've had so many different doctors after my accident want to prescribe me antidepressants, and nothing wrong with that. My body just rejected them. I was sick when I took the medicine. And I was like, I know that if I can just shift my mindset and my perspective with gratitude, I'm going to get through this. The next part of Spark is P is prioritize self-care. Really fill your cup up first so that you can pour into others. And then the list goes on. But I think one of the most important things for sparking joy is really taking time to pause, to listen to your heart, to listen to your higher power. And I love that there's a term for what I did, going outside and getting my feet in the grass, earthing. That's what it's called, earthing.
Yeah, there's a few of them. Earthing is one. Interviewed Clint Ober, who kind of coined that. He was actually, if you're old enough to know, and I think you are, he created the modem. And
What is that?
so it's like I think it's like the early aspects of like internet or telecommunications. I can't remember exactly, and I should know. But Clint Ober, really fascinating gentleman, creating earthing products, which is like
Oh,
grounding.
somebody.
Yeah. So if you can't go
That
outside,
to
then I'm
me.
standing on one right now. We have one on our bed that we sleep on. If you don't happen to get outside, or it's winter or what have you, right? But yes, all of those things are just really nice tools that we can utilize. But really basics, right? You just sunshine, movement, water, sleep. Those are like vital for us to really be showing up optimally. And I just want to say that because you're so raw in how you share your life and your experiences, I think that that's such a key aspect too. When we can come to that moment in our lives where we're really looking at all of the ugliness in the face, and we're okay to let the rest of the world see that, because it's the most profound way to be able to say, uh, to speak to somebody so they understand, so they listen, and so they too feel heard and comfortable enough to be able to do that as well.
Well,
And
I think When you can relate to somebody who's been there, who, like,
Yes.
sometimes when you're in a dark place, you think, well, I know I did. I thought, well, I'm the only one. Nobody's going to understand this.
Sure.
Nobody's been, and you know what? Guarantee you there's somebody out there, probably several people who've gone through something exactly the same or somewhat similar. And I think that when you can talk to someone and I know for me, I want to learn from somebody who has been there and done that and gotten through the other side. And I think also, I will just say, my husband has said before, "Oh, I'm gonna tell people if they only knew." And I'm just like, it's in the book. Like, I already share. And once you own your story, not saying
Mm,
that you have to air all your dirty laundry out in the world, but it's like I talk openly about my sobriety because I had so much shame about it. I even thought, like, how could a good girl like me end up here, going from elite
yeah.
athlete to alcoholic? And it
Yeah.
took me a long time to even talk about it. I think I cried every day the first year of my sobriety. The floodgates came open, but I have learned that when I have talked about being sober, I've had so many people reach out and say, I've had people that I have spoken at an event, and there's been a speaker dinner, and I didn't even talk about my sobriety, but they saw I was the only one at the table not drinking, and they got sober after seeing me not drink and learn I was, in sobriety. And so
It's
when
awesome.
you share something and you know that somebody else has been through a similar situation, there is that instant connection. It's a familiar place. To me, I feel like feels like home. It feels like you can really relate and trust that person.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really leading by example. And human beings, we're fascinating, right? We really do follow the leader. And there's study after study after study with that, right? And so those of us who are brave enough to step out and do the right thing and show ourselves as brilliantly as we are inside and out, it just shows that example, and everyone else can do the same thing. So very, very cool story. Amberly, what are you most passionate about creating right now?
Well, you know what? I feel like I'm I'm loving, my mastermind group. We're doing a retreat together at the house. And so I always have fun getting to create that. But I'm traveling, speaking at a lot of events. I'm pouring into my 3-month coaching program. But I feel like I should give you the acronym so anyone listening can spark joy. And so I was like, I never finished that. See what I mean about I'm all over the place and I need acronyms to help me with that. So it's shift your perspective, prioritize self-care, align with your values, prior wait, yeah, release what doesn't serve you and kindle connection. This is what I'm creating right now. So
But you mentioned that connection piece, which I do want to circle back to too, because I agree with you. I think that is not mentioned as often as one of those vital pieces. I mean, when you consider what the studies that they did for the blue zones, right? If you're familiar with that, that community piece, the connection piece was a part of that. The people who have lived the longest lives have family, friends, connections, daily pieces of and time with other people that they can be present with and fully engage with and share moments with. And so I think that's very vital to bring to the forefront here.
well, yeah, and we aren't meant to do hard things alone. We are meant to be connected. And it's not as much fun on the entrepreneurial journey if you don't have that connection. And that's why I'm so passionate about my mastermind group, because of when you get it's for women. I love men, I love the fellas, but this one is for women. It changes the energy of the group when there's even one fella in the group, which like I said, I love men, but this is for women. And to have each other, to know that you're not writing that book alone, that you have somebody that is cheering you on, that's in your corner. But I really feel like connection is the opposite of addiction. I tried to do it alone. I tried to get sober alone. I tried to I thought I had to, it was hard for me to ask for help, but asking for help is what not just changed my life. I think it saved my life because I was in a place where I don't want to sound too dark, but I didn't want to live, but I was too afraid to die. And it was when I
Mm.
reached out for help and said, I got a problem, is when I started to get help. But you know what? You have to be willing to reach out. And I know that takes a lot of courage because when I'm in pain, my default is to isolate. But connection, like I said, is the opposite of addiction. I think we need connection to thrive. We need it to more than just survive. If we want to level up in our careers, if we want to stay sober, we need
Yeah.
that connection. And people ask me all the time, also, people ask, how are you getting all these speaking events? Like, do you have a speaker's agent? No. How are you? It's connection. It's
Yeah.
relationships. I think success is built on relationships. And I had somebody else tell me, well, you're lucky that you had people come to see you in the hospital and you had these connections.
Oh,
And I said, well, no, I said, it's not lucky. I said, your hard work puts you where your blessings can find you because I
mm,
had poured into these clients for years. I had poured into my relationships and my friendships for years. I had been there for family for years. And so, not that I was doing that to expect something in return, but guess what? They showed up for me in return,
yeah.
And so, it's being of service and doing things out of service. It truly is a gift back to you and it builds your relationships and those connections even deeper.
And I would say, for someone making a comment like that, you have to start somewhere with the relationships that you have with others. And it, like you mentioned, you worked very hard. You poured so much of your energy and time and love into those connections that you maintained over the years. And but you had to start somewhere, right? And so it doesn't matter what point of life that you're at or what circumstances you have or what experiences that you're facing. It is to start having those moments with others, those present moments with others to where they feel inspired, enlightened to reciprocate that with you. So, Amberly, you have been such a fabulous guest
Oh,
on the Wellness Driven Life Show. I want to thank you so much for your time and that we finally got to get together here today so you could be present with me and to our audience. You are joy. Just you
oh,
have a perfect title for your book.
you're amazing, and I can see why people love to listen in to your show because you are so full of joy. And thank you again for having me on.
You're absolutely welcome. Is there anything else that you want to share with our audience today?
Yeah, well, we talked a lot about connection and sparking joy, and you can find at Amberly Lago Motivation on Instagram. I have links to download that free playbook on how to spark joy. And you can find everything else at amberlylago.com, my podcast, my book, my upcoming events, all the free download. I've got a free downloadable journal there as well. So yeah, reach out. And I just have to say one last thing is if you can take anything away from listening into this conversation today, let it be this, that you don't have to do it alone. You're never alone. Reach out to help. You can reach out to me. I love when people DM me on Instagram or you can email me. It's my website's right there or my email's right there on the website. And it's me responding back to you. So sometimes if it takes a little longer, it's only because it's me. It's not a bot or an assistant. It's actually me getting back to you. But April, thank you so much for having me on.
You're welcome. And I want to add to that for those listeners who might be at that time where they're kind of retracting from the world and they're just in a place you can always find connection through podcasts, books. So pick up Amberly's book and find connection there and strength with that and those words. So again, thank you so much for being a guest on the show. Thank you to our audience, because without you, the show wouldn't be possible. Goodbye for now, and we will see you next time.